Joining us right now in Chicago is Price Futures Group Senior Account Executive, author of the Energy Report, Phil Flynn. Phil, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Maria. It's great to be here.
What's troubling oil today? I mean, square that circle in terms of what the market's doing ahead of this OPEC meeting.
I think there's three main things. Obviously, concerns about economic growth. I mean, that is a concern when we saw the stock market get worried. The Huawei news, concerns that we're going to have a big trade war, that sent the market really reeling. But also, too, uncertainty coming out of this OPEC cartel meeting today. You know, the trade was pretty much assuming that a production cut was a done deal. You know, that we'd see probably at least 1 million barrels from OPEC, maybe as much as 175,000 from Russia, up to 300,000 barrels a day. But we heard from the Saudi energy minister today, Khalid al-Falih, that says, hey, not so fast. We really haven't agreed to anything yet. And we're going to kind of wait to see what Russia is going to come to the table with. You know, the Russians have been playing a little bit coy right now. The Russian energy companies can still make money at these lower prices. Saudi Arabia cannot. And they're a little bit reluctant to cut production. So this deal that we thought was in the bag 24 hours ago may not be in the bag at all. And we might not get a cut. Or if we do get a cut, it might be smaller than we originally assumed.
Phil, one question. I know you mentioned a lot about Russia and Saudi, but two things. What about Qatar leaving OPEC, and how do you view the whole situation with Iran, needing the money to sell more oil?
I think there was a lot of concerns that could be the breakup of the OPEC cartel. Now, Qatar is basically coming back and saying, listen, no, it's not about that we're upset with Saudi Arabia or we've become marginalized in the cartel. It's more about our focus on natural gas production. But a lot of market watchers are saying, hey, wait a minute. There's a lot of people in the cartel that are very upset with the way Saudi Arabia and Russia are basically dictating oil policy for the world, that everybody else in the cartel really doesn't matter what they think because it's only what these two countries think. So there is concern that Qatar could be the first of other members that may leave the cartel in the future. Some people are speculating that either Iran and Iraq want out because they're not getting what they want out of Saudi Arabia. But right now, the focus is more on what they're going to do in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, I just want to point out, Qatar produces less oil than New Mexico. So in terms of its overall production, it's irrelevant.
But so are you saying New Mexico should join OPEC? I don't know. I didn't get that.
We are. You know what? We are a counter as a nation with our great oil-producing states. We are a strong counter to OPEC, stronger than OPEC in some regards.
Well, related to that, Phil, we used to generally think cheap oil is good for the U.S. economy. Obviously, since so much energy production has moved to the U.S., we now look at cheap oil, and a lot of people say, oh, that's going to reduce business investment. The president, with his tweet, obviously is still in that cheap oil is good camp. Do you have a view on the overall economic impact? Do we want it cheap or expensive for the greater economy?
I think you have to be careful what you tweet for because, Donald Trump has been tweeting lower oil prices are good, but crashing oil prices aren't good for anybody. In the U.S., we've seen what has happened to the U.S. shale industry when prices have gone sub 50. We've seen bankruptcies. We've seen pullbacks in production. And even though the U.S. shale producers are stronger than they ever have been before, what I'm hearing from the shale patch right now is they don't like Donald Trump tweeting about lower oil prices. They're getting to their point of pain, and if prices fall any further, you are going to see a major pullback in the U.S. shale industry.
Yeah, every time the president tweets about lower oil prices, that people who watch this program who live in Texas tweet the show going, wait a minute, buddy.
Wait a second.
Well,
hey, we voted for you. You were a pro-energy guy.
We had the CEO of Marathon Petroleum on yesterday, and he said we're about at the level now that shale companies are going to start seeing pressure if oil prices go any lower. And we could very well see production slow down as a result of where we are right now from the shale producers. So he was actually really worried in terms of what this current price means right here for shale.
And I think he's absolutely right. Listen, you know what? We've heard in the past that shale oil producers have been more efficient. They do a much better job. They can do things more efficiently.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true. But at the same time, a lot of these companies, especially the smaller ones, are very deep in debt. They've spent a lot of money to get this oil out of the ground. And they're actually, many of these companies are actually paying more money per barrel than they can get by selling it right now. So that's not a win-win for anybody.
All right, Phil, we will keep watching that. Thanks so much, Phil Flynn, for weighing in here during this OPEC meeting.